Welcome back. When the teacher views writing as a process, she sees that writers go through several stages before they are able to produce a piece of writing. She, therefore, creates conditions in how something is done, as seen in diagram 1. The first diagram shows the general stages in the process of writing, namely, being motivated to write, getting ideas together, planning and outlining, making notes, making a first draft, revising, planning, redrafting and editing, and getting ready for publication. These steps are not observed in a strictly step-by-step manner. The process is not linear. In fact, writers may go backwards and forwards as they write. They may delete some sentences, add new ones, move around a few, change a word here or there, or discover new connections. Whatever they have produced is considered not final until they hit upon the draft that best conveys their message. Finally, their work reaches their intended readers via publishing. When viewed as a process, writing is a constant act of discovering new ideas and revising old ones. For this reason, writing cannot be rushed or hurried, for writers constantly shape and reshape the things they want to say. Aside from viewing writing as either product or process, it can be considered an act of communicating. What does this mean? This means that the writer considers two important questions before putting anything on paper. The first is, what is the purpose of writing? Why am I writing this? Is it to narrate a past experience, to describe someone or something, to ask for advice, to apply for a job? The first question is about the why of writing. The second question is, who am I writing for? Who is going to read this? The question is about the reader or audience, who may be a friend, a relative, an editor of a newspaper, or a store manager. Why is it important to consider these questions? Knowing what a person is writing for and being aware of who is going to read that piece of writing may help the writer decide what to put in and what to leave out, and what style of language to use. Let's look at the grid. That shows how the style of the writing sample is shaped by the function or purpose, as well as the audience or reader. Do you make your students keep journals? A journal is like a diary where one records his or her experiences and feelings. Since the writer addresses himself or herself, an informal style of writing is used in a journal. Entries may be written even in incomplete sentences, with contractions and deletions. Here's an example. On the other hand, when one sends a condolence card to a friend to offer sympathies, formal writing is used, as in the following message. My family and I are sorry to hear about your father's passing away. Our prayers and condolences. Writing is viewed as an act of communicating. The writers also take the role of the readers. They try to anticipate the possible questions in the readers' minds and supply the answers in their texts, with readers in mind. Writers try to figure out if their ideas are adequately developed and cohesively organized. Further, they try to adjust their words and language forms so that they won't appear either too easy or too difficult to the readers. As a result, writers gain a sense of purpose and a sense of audience, which enable them to communicate clearly and effectively. After discussing the major beliefs about writing, let's talk about some teaching approaches that match the views. Can you recall some approaches to teaching writing as a product? One of them is controlled composition. This approach aims to reinforce the language forms and vocabulary taught and to help students avoid errors as much as possible. For this, the content and language expressions are supplied in the writing activity. Hence, the learner need only to rewrite the paragraph by making a few changes, such as changing present tense to past tense, singular to plural, direct to indirect speech, active to passive, etc. In this approach, the students are seemingly able to write a paragraph with a degree of accuracy. Let me take you to a classroom scene where the teacher uses the controlled composition.
Here's a short paragraph on a park scene. Now, who would like to read it aloud? Yes, Maya?
It's morning in the park. A young man is walking with his dog. Every day, he buys a newspaper at the newsstand. The news dealer greets him. The man then goes to a nearby bench. He sits by himself and reads. His dog runs in the trees. After an hour, the man walks home.
Okay, thank you, Maya. Now, what does the young man do every day in the park? Yes, Jeffrey.
Ma'am, he takes a walk, buys a newspaper and reads it.
Good. Do you know that you too can write a paragraph similar to that? All you have to do is change a young man to two young men in sentence 2 and a few other words. Okay, now go over the paragraph again and find out what else should be changed since there are now 2 persons in the park. What do you say to that, Sheila?
I think that you should change his to their, then he to they, then him to them.
Very good. Any other answer? Yes, Katrina.
Change man to man, a newspaper to newspapers, buys to buy, sits to sit, is to are.
Correct. What else? Yes, Mark. Mark?
So change does to do, dog to dogs, and himself to themselves.
Very good. Now, which verb does not have to be changed? Yes?
My mom agreed, ma'am. I think it goes, ma'am, it agrees with news dealer.
Good. Now, as you rewrite a paragraph, be sure to take note of these changes. Remember to indent the first sentence and capitalize the first words in each sentence. Also, do not forget to punctuate your sentences and to spell the words out correctly. Now, are there any questions?
None, ma'am.
Okay, you can now rewrite the paragraph on a sheet of paper.
Did you notice the features of teaching controlled composition? Yes, in this approach, the teacher gives the students a paragraph to work with. They don't need to bother themselves with content, organization, finding ideas, and forming sentences. All they need to do is make a few specific changes in grammar. Did you take note of the changes students had to make in the nouns, pronouns, and verbs? Study this activity. What language form is being practiced here? Are the students really writing what they want to say? Activity 1. Rewrite the passage by changing the tense of the underlined words from present to past. Include the time signal. Michelle goes to a bookstore at least once a month. When she gets there, she heads straight to the piles of books on sale. There, she browses over the books with much gusto. After choosing a book or two, she moves to the school supply section where she buys her school needs. She looks for little things like bookmarkers, small cards, and fancy pencils. Happily, she takes home what she has bought. Here's another activity in controlled composition. Find out how it differs from the first one. Activity 2. Rewrite the passage by choosing a word or group of words from the list below to complete each sentence. I went to blank to buy blank presents for my blank. I have 2 blank, Dan and Vic, and 2 blank, Liza and Dawn. There were a lot of blank on the shelves, and I began choosing blank for both the boys. I know that both of them like blank. The girls are younger. After looking at several blank, I finally bought them both blank. Number 1, bookshop, toy shop. 2, birthday, Christmas. 3, nephews and nieces, grandchildren. 4, grandsons, nephews. 5, nieces, granddaughters. And 6, children's books, toys. 7, books, model cars. 8, automobiles, adventure stories. 9, picture books, toys for girls. 10, dolls, books of nursery rhymes. Do you know what makes that activity controlled composition? Yes, the ideas are provided for. The paragraph is already organized, and the sentences are in place. The students are asked only to fill in vocabulary words in the paragraph. However, the chosen words must relate to the overall composition. As you have noticed, controlled composition is a good method of reinforcing grammar and vocabulary in context. Further, it gives students practice in using the conventions of writing, such as indentation, capitalization, spelling, punctuation, and even using linking words for cohesion. In this approach, the students are seemingly able to write a paragraph with a high degree of accuracy. But are they really able to write what they want to say? The next approach is guided composition. How does this teaching of writing go? We will give you the answer when we return. Stay tuned.